Inviting our, in fact, the first panelist, Radhika Ghai Agarwal. She's a Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder ShopClues.com. She brings over 14 years of experience in diverse industry segments, including retail, e-commerce, fashion and lifestyle, advertising, and public relations. She's an astute and aggressive marketer. As a co-founder of ShopClues, her vision and entrepreneurial acumen have carefully nurtured the brand. Inviting our next panelist, Ratnakar Bharti, General Manager and India Sales Head of Tyro. He's a veteran in the digital media domain, has over 15 years of experience in driving the revenue functions across setups, has been in digital media industry for over 13 years now. He has a strong functional expertise in digital media space, including media planning, buying, campaign management, business development, key account management, and ad sales for brands across business verticals. Our next panelist, Manish Gupta, co-founder, Unicommerce eSolutions Private Limited, a technology startup in the field of e-commerce backend solutions. The order management, warehousing, and multi-channel solutions are used by almost all the leading e-commerce websites in the country. And Manish has over 15 years of rich experience in the internet and startup space, and he has worked very closely with the SMEs. Inviting Frederick Kraus. Frederick is co-founder and MD of TrustedCompany.com. He's responsible for all sales and marketing activities. Prior to founding TrustedCompany.com, he worked in corporate and consulting environments with BSF in China, gaining experience in emerging markets, B2B marketing, and Ronald Berger Strategy Consultants in Munich, Germany has worked. Inviting Sandeep Singh, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder freeculture.co. With a deep understanding of the emerging media and technology markets, Sandeep is highly commended in the digital industry as a dynamic professional with acute business acumen in digital marketing, brand management, and advertising. And now inviting Aniruddha Joshi from FanPlayer. He is helping FanPlayer, a SaaS solution that uses big data and business intelligence to help e-tailers increase their revenue and enter India. In a career spanning 37 years, he has worked in senior roles with MNCs in banking, media and IT, outsourcing and real estate. He consults with and advises a number of startups in US and India in the areas of advertising, PR, finance and e-commerce. So with all our panelists, I hand over to the session moderator to kickstart the session.
Just with the raise of hands, how many of you still have an alarm clock on the side of your bed? You still have? Yeah, so it's not an alarm clock, it's a mobile phone, right? So how many of you have a mobile phone replacing an alarm clock? Awesome, okay. Was it the first thing you got when you got up from the bed today, or was it your spouse or whoever is married? What is the first thing you picked up when you got up in the morning? Not even your kid or spouse. Awesome, that's great. That's a good start for the session, right? So what are we talking about here? Today we are here to discuss about a billion users doing a lot of new things as compared to what a typical consumer would be doing just a couple of years back. Things are changing so fast, things are changing so rapidly. Just some stats, I'm sure all of you would know this. We have close to 100 million Facebook users in India. We're talking about 200 plus mobile internet subscribers in India. We're talking about over 1 billion app installs just in the last 1 year, putting across all the app stores in India. We're also talking about, what are they doing? The consumer is trying to do from, as I put it more often than not, from Audi to Shadi, everything is happening on mobile these days or on the digital space. that's the kind of context we are talking about, because increasingly the consumer is changing. And he's changing so fast, that everybody is trying to do a catch-up. OSs are trying to do a catch-up. Your Android One is a classical example of catching up to something. Your handset manufacturers are catching up. Your e-commerce players are catching up. Everybody in the economy and in the periphery of things is trying to catch up to this consumer. That's the context I wanted to set up, in this conversation. And interestingly, if you notice, I kept both the clients very close to me, on the panel.
That's his advertising.
Yeah, it helps. It helps, Radhika. So I would actually start the question with both of them, and of course the lady would start. What do you think is the biggest hurdle in reaching out to these consumers who are changing so rapidly, who are doing things differently, who have these very vivid personalities, which is very hard to catch up with them, right? So what is the biggest hurdle to reach this billion people out there?
Can you guys hear me? Yep. Hello? Yeah. I think the biggest challenge, and that's just a reflection of the kind of country that India is, that we are all just so different. I spent a lot of my career in the US working in retail, so trying to understand the consumer space there. If you look at a kitchen in New York versus a kitchen in Austin versus a kitchen in San Francisco, or compare that even with a kitchen in Alaska, 98% of the products there are going to be similar, and 98% of the time they're going to be used in a similar way. Try and compare that to a kitchen in Kashmir, with a kitchen in Delhi, with a kitchen in Bombay, and Chennai, and go further down south, completely different. Even the consumption patterns are completely different. So I think just the fragmentation of the consumer, fragmentation of the consumption patterns that we have in India, make it a very, very challenging, just a challenging country to be in. So high level, I think that is, for me, the fragmentation, just the fact that the consumers are very different. Consumer A is going to be very different from consumer B. His consumption patterns of both media, channels, in every way are going to continue to be significantly different, makes the whole planning of how to reach out to these consumers a very big challenge.
Sandeep?
Hello, everybody. So, am I too loud? Okay. So, so picking up from where Radhika just mentioned about consumers being fragmented, I believe that's how India is, right? You'll have 27 different states. Every state is different language, different kind of culture. So I think what has happened, lately through digital and giving so much options to consumers is that the media has also become fragmented. Their consumption patterns were fragmented. Now what they're consuming as a media, or what could be intercepted to them as a marketing message, is also very fragmented. Just roll back 10 years, all a media planner or a marketing person would have to do just release campaigns on television, right? Because the media consumption was very homogeneous. So you'll have, at least 90% of people hooked onto a Star Plus or hooked onto a general entertainment channel. But now you look at consumers' consumption pattern of media, they are doing multitasking. So they are on mobile, they are surfing apps, they are surfing Facebook on mobile as well as web. So, catching this customer who is already very, very fragmented in his own choices is being offered more choices through media. So now, mixing these two has made the task of the marketing managers and the media planners very difficult. 10 years back, I remember if you used to just plan your ad just to make sure that your boss is watching the television channel and the ad comes there, or the hoarding is at the route to your boss's home, you've done your job, right? But it's not true anymore.
Now it's Facebook or a mobile which the daughters or sons use now. Yes. So I want to bring in perspective, or I want to take the conversation a little ahead of, in my opinion, the biggest hurdle is qualifying the user even before I spend one ad dollar on him. I think that's something as a media industry, as an industry which is heavily dependent on these users, is facing today. How do we understand who this user is? That's when I bring in Aniruddha from a big data perspective, that how effectively is data playing a role in qualifying this user, in understanding who he is or who she is and what are her affinities and stuff like that. So give us your perspective to the audience, that how do we qualify and what are you guys doing in that area?
Okay. Good afternoon. If you divide the process into two, so let's say the first part of the process is, you're online and you're searching for a product or you're searching for something, you're going from website to website, etc. And then, so that's the exploratory part, if you like. And then the second half of the process is that you actually land on the landing page of a e-commerce website and start the process of purchasing. Now the first part of the process where you're exploring, a lot of technology has developed in terms of targeting, retargeting, personalization of ads, interactivity, interactivity of ads, trying to increase engagement, trying to drive traffic to the e-commerce site. The picture changes dramatically when you look at the e-commerce site. The traffic comes. After that, what happens? 50% off of everything, 40% off of everything. The competition is purely on price. It is not based so much on understanding of the visitor who's coming to your website. So I think that's an area where optimizing your incentive budget, because when you give 50% off, that comes out of some budget. In reality, someone may be happy with 10%, someone else may be happy with 20%, someone may not need a discount, but you're giving everybody 50% means you're really misusing your incentives budget. So therefore, tracking the behavior of a visitor to your site, which product page does he or she go to, how long do they spend there, are they a repeat visitor? We have a customer, for example, in Japan, which is like a Japanese Make My Trip. They track everything. They track, if you fill up your form saying you're flying from Tokyo to Orlando and you have one child with you, the website will automatically offer you a free pass to Disneyland. So, things like that, tracking everything that the visitor does on the website and treating that as a source of establishing that visitor's intent or that visitor's character, and therefore targeting that visitor with specific incentives and offers at the right time in the buying process. I think that is where a lot of the analytics are going to move. And of course, further down the road, not only just tracking current behavior, but seeing whether you can use predictive analytics to track how the person will behave in the future.
Great. So, yeah. You want to add something? Yeah.
I would just like to jump on that ship actually, because I think that's really an important point that you just mentioned is what actually happens once the traffic arrives. You already spend a lot of money on maybe qualifying the traffic, maybe driving it to your site. So what happens actually after that? You want to make sure that the money is spent well, right? You want to make sure that the potential customer that you drove to your site is also converting into sales. And when we think about the question that you were asking in the beginning, reaching out to 1 billion, what changes or what is a hurdle that comes up there? I think we have to think about a little bit who is the people that are this billion, right? And who's joining or who's coming as new visitor basically, right? People who have never been shopping online maybe before. So I think it's really an important point that to think about what happens then on the site, and that's a little bit from my experience where where you want to show that you have satisfied customers on your platform, that you do a good business, that you can reassure those new guys that are coming that they can be safe shopping on your site, on your platform. It's exactly.
Companies like you help monitor these conversations, moderate them, or help get them to a conclusion of sorts.
Yeah.
What role does it play? And that's an important part of this consumer because, as I said, they talk a lot.
I agree. And yeah, the question is exactly what do they talk about, and if you don't do something, what do they talk about? So mainly, when you look around in the web today, probably you will find a lot of places, and that might also be Facebook, where people complain because if they're not happy, if they're not satisfied, that's they have this, they're looking for this vent to complain somewhere, to get out their voices. But what you want is to make sure as a merchant or as an online business, or if you don't activate them, then that are coming online nowadays.
In fact, I think complaints are a better way of gauging people than compliments, right? Complaints are a better way of gauging people than compliments.
Yeah.
That brings me to the next question. Okay, great. We have seen huge Times of India full page ads of retailers I can't name here. But the fact is here, I'm sure there are a lot of startups, young guys who want to get into this field, already in the field, set up businesses, trying to, and looking up in the sky saying that, wow, I don't have that deep pockets to spend huge amount of money on Times of India full pages or prime time channels and on television. That's when I want to bring in Manish and say, how does technology play a role in helping the cause of startups to reach out more effectively and more cost effectively to these audiences?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon everybody. So we are a startup guy. We started about 2 years back, and I can share our experience. I say the technology has made the difference, because if I have launched a company say 10 years back and I would have tried to create a brand around it or make people aware of it, I think I would have never been able to do it. But with the changing times, I think building a brand or promoting yourself has become much more affordable, much more accessible, and much more democratic. Today, if you don't have to spend millions of dollars for that. So it's not necessary that you shout, but I think if you speak effectively and transparently about you, there are avenues and there are ways which can build your brand. And I'm seeing this happening on all the marketplaces also. So whereby there were a couple of brands who were retail brands which were selling their products through some retail stores and all that. With the advent of marketplaces, free marketplaces, we are seeing a lot of private labels, and believe me, a lot of private labels are doing much better business in the e-commerce space, and they have been able to build a brand which is a purely virtual e-commerce brand. So I would say with the advent of technology and changing times, the audience is changing, and definitely it is much easier to promote yourself, and we are finding it much easier to build a brand around.
So that brings me to last perspective of that section is, fine, I have this platform, I have this small brand which I'm trying to build. That's when I want to bring in Ratnakar from Tyro, that in your perspective, how things are changing on that space of acquisition-led media planning, acquisition or result-oriented media planning as far as I see it. I'm genuinely not using the word affiliate because I believe that there is still a lot of media planning required even in that space, right?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon everybody. See, Narayan, this whole genesis starts from what the client is actually requiring. Wherein Tyro came into existence is there was a huge gap in what was the requirement of the market and what probably the existing players were offering. So, few years back, okay, they were the traditional media houses offering the traditional solutions, etc. But we noticed very much that there is a lot of requirement as far as performance-oriented requirements are concerned, ROI metrics are to be adhered, etc. And while there was a long tail of publishers across being completely untapped. So from that perspective, I believe one had to probably understand the last mile requirements of each of the advertisers, whichever domain they were into, And that is where it all started in terms of, offering, whether be it a sale as far as the, say the e-commerce or some guys are concerned, or maybe the banking requirements of qualified leads, educational and auto category leads, etc. and all. So I believe that's where it all started from. And that is the genesis. So while coming back to your original part of it, how difficult it is to reach out to people. Everyone knows everyone is here, but how do I know where are my guys, right? There has to be some metric in which I say, okay, out of the 100 people over here, 20 are supposed to be my audience. What Anirudh said and what in terms of attributes, etc. and all, where you can actually build lookalike models and know where your customers are coming from, where they're likely to be found. And maybe through the help of affiliates or, exchanges, which are now very, very prevalent in the ecosystem as such, try and basically reduce the media wastage as such, which is another term or the different side of the coin for actually increasing your ROI.
Great. So that brings us to that part of who are these audience, defining these audience, what are their challenges, how do we reach them, how technology can play a role, how effective media planning can play a role, right? Before I move ahead to my next section, again, when I want to bring in Radhika, and I just got a latest snippet, right? One of the research shows that we have more cell phones in India than toilets, by the way, for the record. And I'll keep on giving you these snippets, and it's interesting to know the perspective of how the country is changing, right? And how how we are seeing a new face of this customer. So going on, so from your experience, Radhika, what has been your most effective tool to reach to this audience? You can compare whatever media vehicles you're trying to use, and which was probably the most effective and why?
So even before I go in and answer that question, and I kind of want to build a bit of a base here and give you guys a bit of a background of what we've done at ShopClues. We started about 2.5 years ago, and we're the 4th largest horizontal marketplace in India right now. And we reached everywhere we reached at this spot, we have somewhere around 17 million visitors who come onto the site every month. And we've reached this without doing any ATL. Now, if you guys know India well, you know that ATLs or television commercials are looked at as the holy grail of marketing. They are the best way to reach the masses. We got where we are without doing that, thanks to pretty much everyone sitting here in this panel. Ratnakar, thank you. Good job. Tyru, we work with Tyru in a very big way. And how we did it is that at different phases of the business, at different stages, when you're starting off, there is a particular channel that's going to work for you better than another channel. So we actually launched on social media. We launched on Facebook, and that was a time when you couldn't get into the Facebook page without liking it. And it worked beautifully for us. Why? For a number of reasons. Firstly, we knew that there was a lot of irrational behavior in the market at that time. That was another one of the peaks of the e-commerce where acquisition costs were absolutely through the roof. We wanted to target only those people who had already made an e-commerce purchase. So based on all the tools that everybody on this table is really providing, we identified those people and targeted our campaigns only for those people. So for the first 3 months, we used social media aggressively, absolutely. Did not even get onto Google, did not get into search engine marketing, none of that. It was social media, it was Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. It helped us get to a scale much quicker than we thought we would be able to. That is when SEM kicked in for us. We realized that we've, I won't say peaked out because we continue to use social media very aggressively, but we had reached a certain scale there and we needed to get out and get more customers aware about us. We got into social engine marketing, so we got into Google and a lot of other channels using that, Yahoo, etc. And that worked well for us for the next 3 months. That continues to work well for us, but we had to add another channel. And that's when we added the affiliates and alliances. Because we realized the kind of publishers that are available across India, we were not being able to connect to the audiences that was coming to these special publishers through the channels that we were currently using. So it has to be, and so on, and actually this last Sunday we finally rolled out our TV commercial. So we're out with a bang, we're in the market, and we're targeting GECs. Of course, our budgets are nowhere close to the bigger players in the market, but our efficiency is always very good because we identify the customer, identify what he's looking for, and what is the best channel to be able to reach that. And coming from me, who's been a retail person all my life, started my career in offline retail. You don't know the person who walks into the store, where he's shopped before. None of the information is really available till you implement a CRM tool, and even then you have limited information available. How awesome is e-retail, where a person gets onto your site and you have so much information about them available. So different channels, different effectivity at different phases of the business.
Scary sometimes.
Scary sometimes, but how awesome. Very cool.
So Sandeep, from your perspective, I know you run a little more complex business. You have an offline, online kind of a model. And so what has been your effective media strategy, and how did it pan out for you guys?
So for us, just to give you guys a background about Free Culture is a menswear brand. So we started selling online. We launched freeculture.com and sort of reached out to the entire nation through digital. And that's where we've sort of built our brand, in the last 2 years. And during that time frame, what really worked effectively for us was, effective targeting on social media and through Intercept on Google. I think what digital really offers very beautifully is to segment your audience and reach out to the customer who's actually at the he's sitting at the fence. So you don't, waste media spraying and praying that, this guy will come to my website and will buy. For us, we are a single brand retail, so we can't offer him the choice which a Myntra or a Jabong can offer, and we are in apparel space. So for us, reaching out to the right audience was very critical. The challenge which we faced, and that's the reason why we also went offline, was, as Manish also mentioned about, a lot of private labels being able to build their sort of business online through marketplaces like Flipkart, Myntra, and we also sell on all these portals. We realized that there is a stiff competition which will come from these private labels purely from a business perspective. So while the business was good, but were we building a brand? So that's the reason we went offline, because in the single brand space, consumers would love to try our product before they commit to a purchase. So for us, going offline and opening physical stores were to really build a, connect with our customer. And as Radhika mentioned very rightly that, we now run physical stores also. And it is very difficult to understand the customer. We keep training our sales staff to, keep getting into the gray matter of the customer, trying to understand what this customer is coming to buy for without, putting up the questions to him. And what we see online, it is so easy. I know the customer has bought, a Henley last time he came. Next time I know what I need to offer him on the web, and I can show him a customized banner. So, and being on the both sides and while running both the businesses right now, each offline as well as online, they have their own challenges. But I think the beauty of, targeting the right customer is something which can, sort of reduce a lot of your media wastage. Now in the offline space, we're trying to, sort of target customer through location-based advertising where mobile is kicked in. We're trying to do, app-based advertising based on the vicinity of the customer. If he's around my store, we are able to target him. So, I think, as we expand more on that, I mean, I'm sure, Narayan can add to it, but we believe the opportunities are not immense there. So, segmentation which can happen more location-based, more accurately, will help brands like us, which are both offline as well as online.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great cue for my next, section or the topic I'm going to take up, which is obviously my favorite, as you said, mobile. Mobile is going to play a key role going forward in possibly every business. But to the context, e-commerce per se, I think will be disrupted by mobile and innovation in mobile. That is going to be the most certain takeaway which all of us are going to take from this conference and many conferences. I was at GMIC Bangalore yesterday, wherein probably who's who of e-commerce were there, and everybody was talking about one thing, was mobile. whether it is whether it is an OEM guy, whether it is an e-commerce guy, whether it is an offline brand, offline retailer, or whether it is as varied as somebody like a Big Bazaar, right? I mean, it's a very different business, different scale of business, but how mobile is trying to unify a lot of these problems which all these companies and industries are facing, and then that unification is going to happen, and mobile is going to disrupt this industry too. With that belief, I'm going to take that next question to Manish, and ask him that, yes, how is mobile currently playing a role in adding that edge to e-commerce businesses in India, and how often you get these queries in terms of how, for example, Sandeep has a challenge, right? He was mentioning me offline that I don't really see a immediate connect of a mobile app doing, I mean, he didn't say it will not do anything, but it's not an imperative immediate decision for him. How do you gauge those things, and how do you push them?
So before I really answer this question, I've been in this industry for 14, 15 years. I started off with an internet company only 14 years back. And I worked very closely with SMEs. So I was sitting with a friend of mine today morning, and they are running a e-commerce marketplace. They have recently launched a marketplace, which is purely on SME market, industrial SME marketplace. Now, I was asking what is the biggest challenge you guys are facing. So he said, everything is good. But today also, if I go to a manufacturer and I tell him this is my marketplace, okay, everything is okay. But what I want is if you can give the entire stuff on the desktop, and I can just do. I just don't want to go online and do the stuff. So the pain point still remains whether people have internet, they want to do e-commerce, but they are not equipped to handle it. I think mobile has served the purpose for them because that is one channel which is, I think, connecting the entire nation. And it is an affordable channel. And it is something, the apps have made it possible that there is a bridge between the offline and online. And that connect is really helping out. So if even that seller is not going to get everything on the desktop, but he can have an app on the mobile which he's always carrying, which can be updated once a day, but he would have the information and he can post the information there. So it is acting as a bridge between online and offline. And since it is omnipresent, so I think it is a great way to go at the moment.
Awesome. So Frederick, I want to bring in your perspective of, because of mobile, and as I already said, they're talking so much. The talking has increased multifold, right? Because it's so easy to post on Facebook. I take a picture, and I was actually watching through my Facebook, and somebody put a picture of a Cadbury with some worms on it, with an address of the retailer, connecting the Facebook page of Cadbury's India, Mondelez India, blah, 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 everything. So it all happens in real time. Real time, I open a packet of Cadbury chocolate and I find something and boom, you go. There's feedback, the whole world knows about it. In this scenario, mobile is again disrupting the social scenario a lot. Facebook officially calls itself a mobile company now. And so are a lot of other social companies, mobile first companies, or probably mobile only companies going forward. How does the social sharing and how does this whole feedback mechanism grow, and how can, any tips for marketers in terms of how do we manage this?
Yeah, I think one point is definitely, again, the question, who is gonna join with this enabler mobile, if you want so. So it's again people that might have, there is definitely people who just do it, out of, it's more comfortable maybe, using a mobile phone at a certain point, but also,
and it's already started, is going to be customization. So the way you see shopclues.com is going to be very different from the way somebody else will see shopclues.com. The way you see ShopClues on the desktop is going to be very different from the way you see ShopClues on the app, because your shopping behavior on the desktop is going to be very different from the way it is on the app. So multiple ways. So you as a customer for me on the desktop is very different as a customer on the app. And that is how I will be targeting my products to you. So big data, multiple layers, multiple ways of slicing and dicing it. I don't know if it answers your question, but.
And you still don't have people more in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities shopping online. Still it's still more of a brick and mortar. So how do, what are the challenges which you see more towards that?
They're shopping. They're shopping anyways.
No, still, if you look at the percentage, it's still less. I mean, the awareness or whatever. Do you see?
See, as Aniruddha has pointed out, yes, I accept there is a, there is a proper infrastructural issue, which is the credit card. More and more credit card and bank cards which issued. I'm probably, again, quoting Mr. Modi. He's already done that. Jan Dhan Yojana is something in that lines where everybody has a bank account.
Bank
so
account.
more e-commerce guys and more transactions for them. So I think we have, okay, gentlemen.
This question is for Radhika. You talked about IRCTC. If you look into the B towns and C towns and small villages, they also do their bookings on IRCTC, but they are usually done through agents. And most of these people, they actually go across to these agents, make the payment there, and this agent does the booking for them. So the model there is a little different. And there is no cash transaction which is actually happening directly. So what is happening is the payment is happening to the agent, and the agent does the booking. And that's the way how the IRCTC bookings from B and C towns are happening.
So,
Okay, the question is, sorry.
So the question is, you talked about basically cash on delivery.
I'll give you my take on that. I couldn't agree more. So it is the cash economy completely, and all. The point I was trying to make was that it is possible for e-commerce to flourish using prepaid methods by using something similar to what you have said. So we launched something called Cash Before Delivery. We have a tie-up with 3 to 4 vendors wherein we have exactly the same process that you can go into the mom and pop stores in your local strip malls, go in and make the payment, buy a product online or on your mobile phone, go make the payment in that particular spot, and the product will be delivered to your home. So for the merchant, for my merchant, right, I'm a marketplace, I'm a true marketplace, I have about 75,000 merchants. They don't, honestly, they're not particularly fond of COD because the returns, 20% returns, more than that for a lot of our key players, that's not something that the smaller merchant is truly fond of. So this takes away the fear of the merchant where COD is concerned, that the product is going to, high likelihood of the product coming back. But it also taps into the similar economy that you talked about. For the merchant, it's a prepaid transaction, but we've made it easier for the consumer as well, wherein he can go and pay before the delivery. Good point
I think
there.
we don't have
Thanks,
more
Radhika.
time. We are running out. The entire panel is going to be here, so you can ask more questions to Radhika and Sandeep. Thank you, everyone. You've been a lovely bunch of people, and it was great talking to you guys. Thanks to the audience also.